a significant number of Nigerians who obviously contribute to the development of this country, but by design and by the design of our electoral act have not been able to exercise their civic responsibility as easily as everyone else. And I talk about persons living with disability, and we constitute a pretty significant number. And I think that this is a major concern for me, as you would imagine, because just going through the electoral act, you see that in the areas where it is even mentioned, where the interests of persons living with disability, are represented, it's for one, it's at best non-inclusive. It's not as inclusive. So, for instance, I make a particular reference to Part 4, I think it is Section 56, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act, and I think it talks about how the first issue is it refers to blind persons and persons with physical deformities. It's not very extensive in terms of the scope, and the spectrum of disabilities that Nigerians live with. And then it says something to the effect of, a blind person may be accompanied by an assistant to vote. Which by itself is a challenge, especially when you consider as the secret ballot system, where I have the right to register, my vote without, the interference of another person. And when you understand, when you also take into consideration that technology also can play a very important role in making this, a lot easier to happen. I think the second thing also is, I think is in subsection 2, it very loosely gives INEC the chance to dictate how it wants to engage with persons living with disability. So, for instance, it says that INEC may, very loosely translated, may take steps to alleviate whatever challenges persons living with disability might face in the course of voting. Now, I think the language "may" is a very, very it's not the most helpful way to communicate that sort of situation, because I think that it's the responsibility of INEC and of the rest of Nigeria to see that we're able to register suffrage appropriately. So and I'm also aware that Mr. Jake Ekpele, I think that's his name, and you most likely have him later on the program. I'm aware that his organization, the Albino Foundation, has done quite some extensive work in conjunction with INEC to provide data for persons living with disability, which I imagine would be able to help answer some of these situations. So I just say all of this to say that inclusion is very important. And from personal experience, because I put off trips whenever it's time to vote, it's important to me to exercise my rights as a voter. And, it's disheartening, when I get there and I find out that for reasons such as this, the interest is not, well registered. So I think this is something I would like for us to speak to. I'm very happy also that the chairman of INEC made reference to implementation, because that's another thing. And it's interesting that we're having this conversation, but at the end of the day, what sees to it that everything, it happens to the letter and spirit is implementation, is enforcement. And, I feel like that's a very, very, very important issue. And yeah, so those are my contributions. I could go on and on, but those are my contributions.
You have a very sweet voice, and it's good to listen to Cobhams.